When I was an alcoholic trying to get sober, everyone told me to replace alcohol with something else. Instead of drinking, why don't you go to the gym? Or why don't you watch TV? Or do something productive? Get another job? Or whatever it is. And people told me all the time that I needed to replace alcohol with something else. And I did. Actually, after I got out of rehab, I did replace alcohol with something else, but that might have been detrimental. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about different things that people use in place of alcohol, why they might help, why they might not help, and one thing that's pretty much guaranteed to stop you from drinking. So we're going to talk about all that today, and I want to precursor this by saying Terry and I are not trained counselors. We're not alcohol doctors or anything like that. We're just two guys who got sober and felt like we were pretty much hopeless when we were drinking, and we're here to share with you what worked for us, what didn't work for us, and what will be helpful. Because I found out that over the years of being sober, there's not really that much education and information for the alcoholic to look at in order to stay sober. I mean, they pretty much say, go to rehab, go to AA, or to hell with you. It's kind of what the runaround I got was, but I found out that information was key. And what you're about to learn in this talk is information that could help you get and stay sober. So, welcome to the show. Terry, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, before I got sober, I tried replacing alcohol with lots and lots of things. Some were suggested, some were my idea. Most of them, well, actually all of them, except for one thing, did not work. That's for sure.
Now, what were some of the ones that you tried that you were pretty certain they were going to work and people were on board with it that didn't seem to work so well?
Well, I tell you one thing, and the one thing I did a lot that was kind of on my own idea was exercise. I exercised like crazy when I was drinking, and it was insane the amount of exercise I did as far as drinking at the same time, and that was a bad combination as far as trying to replace. Exercise is a good thing. It's a great thing in sobriety. It helps keep me mentally awake. It keeps me physically strong. It's a good thing. But as far as a replacement of alcohol, that just wasn't it. Mm-hmm. Some of the other things were trying to look online and get into, read about recovery and learn about it and things like that. And as far as replacement, that didn't work. As far as educating myself, yeah, that helped a lot. But as far as a replacement of alcohol, there's so many things that I did. I would try to not drink certain times of the day, or I wouldn't drink on weekends, or not drink when I go to parties, or I'm only going to drink when I go to parties, or I'm going to try moving, things like that. And all these things that I thought would replace drinking, they just didn't work. And it's a difficult thing to figure out, what do I replace alcohol with? It's such a big part of my life. It's all I do. Well, that's what the point I got to was. That was all I was doing, was drinking, thinking about drinking, hiding the drinking, all that. And it just, nothing worked. I had to figure out that one thing that was going to replace my alcohol.
Absolutely. It's interesting because I did the same thing. I mean, I was a junkie for learning. I was big into personal development and learning about myself and therapy and bettering myself when I was drinking. And I had tried to replace my drinking with that, but it didn't seem to work. It seemed like, oh yeah, I am getting some knowledge and now I think I'm really smart, but nothing's working. And I always had this joke in my head that I could help everyone with their problems except myself. And it was very difficult because these things that I thought were going to work, exercise, which I did sometimes, right? It's one of the things where, like, if I don't have to exercise, I usually don't, because I'd rather, sit around and be lazy. But we look at that and we're like, okay, why doesn't that work? And then why are there people where it does seem to work? Why are there people who they stop drinking and they become like Muscle Man 5000? And then, their drinking is gone or whatever it is. And why is it that for the majority of us, this stuff doesn't seem to be working? And that's what we're going to talk about today, because I think there's one thing that you can replace your drinking with that is unlike anything else. I mean, people say go to therapy, exercise, get into a job, service. Some people get like crazy into going to alcohol meetings, and that becomes their new addiction, is going to meetings, and they go to 50 a day and, you know, whatever. And that's all fine and good if it's keeping you sober. But for me, it didn't keep me sober. And I was just one little step away from a relapse, and that became my life. I was always stuck in this perpetual cycle of not being able to quit drinking. And I wanted to quit drinking. I knew how to quit drinking. It was very simple, but I wasn't able to do that. And it was like there was this other force making me do these things. And I remember countless times I would go to the liquor store and I'd be looking around and I'd say, how did I get here? And I wasn't even drunk yet. I was autopilot that I would go and do these things. And it became part of my life where drinking was the default. Like everything in life, drinking became the default. And some people say, well, maybe I'm going to be a health nut, or maybe I'm going to do that, or maybe I'm going to do this. And I find that oftentimes the replacement isn't that great. And I remember when I was in rehab, when I went into rehab, I dabbled in cigar smoking. You know, I had them once in a while, maybe once a week, twice a month, something like that. Sometimes I go 6 months and I wouldn't even care. But when I went into rehab, everyone was smoking cigarettes, and going with the flow, I didn't want to have cigarettes, so I got my cigars again, and it became a daily habit, sometimes, 3 or 4 a day, which not only isn't the greatest for you, but it also, hurts your pocketbook if you're getting anything worthwhile of a cigar. And this became a replacement for drinking in a sense. Now, was it a replacement that I could go to a cigar instead of the bar? No. But it was a replacement as this is something that I cling to, and this is what I have left. And it was a very difficult mind game to get around that. And that replacement for me actually didn't work. And I found out later on, I believe that some of my anxiety issues went away when I stopped smoking cigars, which was interesting. Could have been other factors, but it was strangely around the same time that anxiety disappeared, and I wasn't even trying to make it disappear. But cigar smoking was not a replacement, because early on it was, I'm angry, I'm going to go smoke my cigar because I really want to go to the bar. I really want to go get plastered right now, but I have this cigar, so I'll do this instead. And it was a replacement of need and a replacement of struggle, rather than a replacement of this is what I do now and this is how life is, so I'm going to find a different way to cope. So what happened was, by replacing with all this other stuff that a lot of people talk about, I was keeping the maladaptive behaviors, the behaviors that didn't work in my life, and bringing them into something new. And that something new always fell short. It's like, well, if I had alcohol, that would work. But instead, I got this cigar or whatever it is. Did you find yourself like that, Terry, too, where the maladaptive behaviors came into whatever you tried to replace it with, except for the one thing we're going to talk about in a minute?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I did, and I did replace my drinking with a lot of things. Even when I got sober this last time, there was a lot of replacements, and they help. So we're not knocking a lot of these things that we're talking about, but they were not a permanent solution. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. And, there were some other things that I tried to do, like non-alcoholic beer. Mm-hmm. Well, that was when I was drinking. I was like, okay, I'll get a 6-pack of non-alcoholic beer. That'll keep me from drinking. And what did I do? I finished the 6-pack off in 20 minutes, and that didn't, it didn't do anything. Then I went straight back to the alcohol. But after I got sober, some of those things were helpful, like the exercise. It was helpful. But at the same time, I was really, really sick. I could not exercise a lot. Or coffee's been mentioned a bunch. And, I still drink way too much coffee. Absolutely. Is it a replacement for alcohol? No, it's not. It's not at all. And am I addicted to caffeine? Probably. I would say yes, but it's not a replacement for alcohol. And coffee was just something that was there. It was at the meetings that I went to. I was not one of those people that went to the 3 meetings a day when I first got sober or anything like that. I did do meetings. I did what people suggested. And that one of the things was go to a meeting a day for at least 90 days and then keep going after that. That's what I did. That helped me a lot. But I would get obsessed with things. I do have a tendency to get obsessed with the exercise. I have a tendency to get obsessed with with those talk shows and stuff like that, and focus in on like maybe an internet search about alcohol abuse and what it does to your body or with things like that. I will get obsessed with those things, and I got to watch myself. I have to really concentrate on not trying to make a replacement and bring some of those bad behaviors that I had, those coping, the trying to cope with life, like I, used alcohol to cope with life, try not to bring that into the new things that I do. And so that's kind of how I did it, was just, it's a difficult thing to try to deal with those emotions that come when we get sober. I mean, our all the mechanisms in our brain are firing up, and they're starting to wake up after we stop drinking, and we have to deal with that. So, some of those replacements, they helped, but they did not cure me. They did not cure those behaviors. I really had to work on those and beat these things head on.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because we're looking for replacements, but in actuality, the answer is a lot more simpler than that. And the answer for me was not really to find a replacement, but to find a replacement life. And let me explain what that means, because a lot of people are like, well, what, are you going to go to church and get born again? Are you going to, join the railroad? You're going to join the circus? What are you going to do? Well, what I did is I had to find a life that did not include alcohol. So my replacement, in essence, sorry, I'm getting used to this new microphone stand. My replacement, in essence, for drinking was not drinking, right? So everything that I did, and this was the perfect replacement, even though it seems super simple, I want you to really look at it, because every time you wanted to drink, which was pretty much all the time if you were anything like me, now you're replacing that with not drinking. And what that does is it tells your mind, hey, I don't need something else. I don't need to go to the gym because sometimes the gym's too far, or I don't feel like going to the gym, or whatever. But in sobriety, I always feel like not drinking because I know that drinking is not the solution. And so by replacing drinking with not drinking, I am telling myself over and over and over again that I don't need to drink to get through this situation. And this is something that's very powerful because you don't see the power. Just like when you were drinking, right? You're like, hey, you know what? I have my first cocktail at, whatever age you were. And then 10 years later, you're like, okay, now I drink 3 at dinner and big deal. Then you become an alcoholic and you drink 3 whenever 3 is available all day, every day. And you don't realize that your tolerance went up. You don't realize that thousands and thousands of times your brain said, we're stressed, we're angry, we're overwhelmed, we can't deal with this, we're happy, let's go drink. And what happened is your brain got wired to thinking problem, drink, problem, drink, problem, drink. Then pretty soon, every problem was worth a drink. It used to be in the beginning, you go to the bar on special occasions, like you lose your job, or you do this, or you do that. Now, I was angry, I was fuming. I went and parked outside a place that I'd get lunch that I knew they'd bring me alcohol. Sat there for an hour, 2 hours, never went in. Why? Because I had to train myself, and I said, this is now my replacement. Because if you have the ability to drink on the table, like, I replaced it with working out, but, if I ever want to drink, I can do that because I replaced it. Maybe, maybe not. For me, it was more maybe not, because I needed to replace it with something of equal amount, equal value, and the same thing, right? One is I'm drinking, the other is I'm not drinking. And so that became my new replacement. I'm not going to drink no matter what. And when I want to drink, I replace it with thoughts of I don't want to drink because of X, Y, and Z. And so I had these things in my brain where I was like, okay, here's the reasons I don't want to drink. I got in a fight with a spouse. Alcohol would be good. I'll probably get drunk, text her, end up in a divorce, end up ruining relationships, probably in a bar fight, and probably get a DUI and ruin my life yet again. So do I want to do that? No. I'm going to replace it with not drinking. And Terry, what was it like for you when that became the replacement? Now instead of drinking, I'm not drinking, and here's why.
When alcohol came off the table for me, that was the biggest change that I experienced, big time. When it was just like, there is no choice. I cannot take a drink. I will not take a drink. This is what my life is about now. I mean, why would I replace a poison? What am I going to replace it with, another poison or something like that? So that's what I had to be careful of. I can't just take it off the table and start to live a better life. And it was huge. That helped me so much when it's just not a choice anymore. Sure, I'd see the alcohol and, at the baseball game, and it's a hot day and it looks cold and it looks wonderful, but it's not on the table anymore. But I'm thirsty. Oh, okay, well, I'm thirsty. That doesn't mean I need a beer. That means go down and get something to drink. Go get a cold Coca-Cola or water or whatever. That's not a replacement. That's taking care of a thirst issue. And for me, that was the most eye-opening thing, is that it's no longer on the table. I cannot take a drink. So what you were talking about pausing. You went to the parking lot and you were going to go and get lunch and get that drink or whatever, and you sat there and thought about it. You thought it through. So the first thing you did was you stopped, and that's a big tool to use, is stopping and not acting on that compulsion to go get the drink, and stopping and thinking it through, thinking about the consequences that are going to happen, and thinking it all the way through. You thought it all the way through, and that's what I had to do too, is think it all the way through. What's going to happen if I take that drink? Yeah, maybe I'll be okay for a while. Maybe not. I don't know, because sometimes I was okay, sometimes I wasn't. And what's the worst thing that has happened to me? Oh yeah, I almost died. Yeah, oh, so what's worse than that? Because I hear that every time you start drinking again, it just gets worse. Well, what's worse than almost dying? Dying. So do I really want to take that chance anymore? No, of course not. So that's what helped me a lot in the beginning, especially. I don't have to go through that whole thought process so much anymore. Occasionally, there's that fleeting thought. I do need to be aware that there's something in me that if I do have a drink, I'm going to be in danger again. But nowadays I have this life that alcohol is just not even on the table. I mean, I can go to the parties and things like that, and I can go to places where alcohol is being served, and I'm fine because it's just not on the table. But I have these little tools, and I mean, even just simple tools like, going to a bar because I'm meeting some friends and ordering a 7-Up with a splash of cranberry. Tiny little things that's just what I do now. It's not that I have to purposely, okay, I'm not going to have this glass of wine or a martini or whatever. I have to have 7-Up and cranberry, and I hate it. No, just figure out something that I like, and then I have that instead, and I'm fine. So alcohol's not on the table for me anymore. I look at my life and I enjoy my life now. Before it was just a struggle. I'd take a drink, I'd take a lot of drinks, and I'd have just a fleeting glimpse of euphoria, and then it'd be gone, thinking about, oh, maybe I need to drink more to get that feeling again, and it just didn't work. Things just got worse and worse and worse.
Exactly. And if you guys want to learn a lot about some of the things that we use to get through our alcohol addiction, we've used as maybe replacements or mindsets that we took with us. Check out Talksober.com. Over at Talksober.com, you can click the big yellow button. This helps support the work we're doing on this channel, helps us reach other alcoholics, and also, after you sign up, it'll give you all kinds of PDFs and videos and different mindsets. There's a book that I'm working on that's most of the way done, and it goes through 30 days of, hey, I want to get sober. What do I do the first 30 days? And it's like I'm writing a letter to you personally saying, hey, this is what I struggled with today, and here's how it helped, and here's what I learned. And I think if you start to go through that and use the worksheets and watch the videos that we have and listen to the audios, I think it's really going to help you understand the mindset that helps keep us sober. Because this is something where I found myself drinking, and I was hopeless. I couldn't do anything. Nothing worked. I was always drinking. I was always struggling. Life was always crazy difficult. And then once I found out these keys and I started following and living a different way and looking at life a different way, which is what this is going to teach you and show you, then everything started changing for me. And I started to realize, hey, wait a minute, I was living in a fantasy world that drinking had perpetuated. It didn't start it, but it definitely perpetuated it, and it definitely made it worse. And now I get to choose what I think about. Now I get to choose how my life is going to pan out and what I care about and what I don't care about. Because what we're going to find is that society, life, and our upbringing and all this stuff has molded and shaped the way that we think. And the very reason we want to drink is because of the fact that we drank and it worked. And this is going to show you how to deal with chemical dependency, how to get help, how to go through and start to change your mind, and all kinds of different things. So you can go over to Talksober.com, click this big yellow button here. It'll take you to the sign-up page. It's $27 a month or less than a cheap beer a day. You can cancel whenever you want. It's like a self-service. Just go in there and cancel. Very simple. And what this will do is it'll get you those tools and it'll help us spread the message. Some other things you can do is you can get a private sobriety call with Terry and myself. There's Terry over there. He'll be on the call. And we're gonna help you guys with what we've learned. Now, this isn't to replace rehab or going to the doctor. Obviously, when you're detoxing, you should always go to the doctor. But this will help you with a lot of the mindset issues. So if you want to support the channel and get all kinds of helpful tools, go to Talksober.com, click that big yellow button, and you'll be ready to go. You can also check out other links. We have a Facebook group. If you can't afford this stuff, there's a Facebook group. But usually, I mean, when I was drinking, there were some things I couldn't afford, but I always found a way to afford booze. And this is cheaper than booze, and in the long run, it'll probably save you a lot of cash, which is really cool. So that is what we have over there at Talksober.com. Definitely want to check that out.
I look forward to meeting some of you on that. David, congratulations on 21 days. And let's see who else we got here. I know Lonnie, 58 days. Right on. I'm not sure if I've seen Lonnie here. I've seen David before for sure. Mm-hmm. And then was it Ben? Oh, Grim's got no. Well, good to see you, Grim. Always good to see you. You're always here, Timberwolf. It's awesome to see everybody here. Let's see if we got some comments we want to address here. Awesome comments so far.
That's a good one. Search says, I just had to stop smoking pot a couple weeks ago. It started to give me the same anxiety drinking gave me when I tried to stop. Now, this is a common thing, and I remember they drove this in our head in rehab. They always said, to the guy who wants to stop drinking, but he's going to, smoke this or he's going to do that. Basically, you're changing deck chairs on the Titanic. The ship is going down, and you're arguing about what kind of substance is going to take you down. Now, are there people that can manage certain things? Sure. Is that me? No. I never have one of anything. And it's important, and I think that's why the replacement needs to be not drinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. I can never have one of anything. Kind of like, you open a bag of chips. Can you eat one chip? Or can you even eat one serving? You know, read what the servings are. 8 chips is one serving. Yeah, right. And I eat 8 servings while I'm sitting there deciding that I'm gonna eat more chips or that I'm gonna have chips. But yeah. See what else we got here.
A lot of people smoking. Smoking, I mean, a lot of people do smoke when they get sober. As far as a replacement, I don't know. A lot of people smoked before they got sober, so is it a replacement? Probably not.
No.
It's probably just something you carried over.
I smoked when I was getting sober, and then in rehab, you know, you chain smoke when you're, well, at least I chain smoked when I was in rehab, and I had never chain smoked like that before in my life. And when I got out, I continued to smoke, and when I got sober a little bit later, for the final time, I still smoked. It was still a habit. However, you know, we always tell you guys, go to a doctor when you're trying to quit, to avoid those withdrawals. Well, you're not going to be able to avoid them, but at least to manage them so they don't kill you. But and the doctor, they told me, you need to quit everything all at once. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it can be a difficult thing to do. I did not. But,
Ben brings up something interesting. He says, I heard that smoking is or can be largely a behavioral addiction, just the motion of putting the cigarette in the mouth. I do agree it is a behavioral addiction. Now, the difference is it doesn't come with the chemical dependency of being drunk, right? So a lot of these things, like it drives me up the wall when people compare alcohol addiction to like biting your nails. It's like, okay, biting your fingernails is a habit. There is no chemical dependent. Well, you don't understand. It changes the yeah, it might change the chemicals in your brain because you're biting your fingernails, but with alcohol, you are dealing with a substance introduced into your body, chemically altering and manipulating you for that time, and also for a long time, changing your brain. So, as far as smoking, I don't think tobacco smoking does that. It does have some chemical issues with it, and it does somewhat make you dependent. But when I was drinking alcohol, I felt like I was not going to be able to live without it because I felt like I had to have it to live. When I was smoking, it was not the same. Nickelodeon says, has Marcus now given up cigars? I did quit smoking about 8 months ago, 7 months ago, something like that. Yeah.
Right on. That's
and
great.
It wasn't something I planned on doing. It was because of my dad's illness, because, I mean, his wasn't caused by smoking, but it didn't help. And I was like, okay, I don't even want to mess with this.
It scared you.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Timberwolf said someone told me to munch on a carrot and celery sticks. And I don't know if that would have done it for me. It was more like cake and candy bars is what I did. I did not eat very healthy when I first got sober.
Same.
I tried, but I did start to steer in that direction. And, you know, when I got sober, what really worked, the main thing is to not drink. That had to be the top priority for everything, is not drink. So I have to do whatever I can to not drink. But on top of that, what I started to do was just start to lead a healthier life. So what did that mean for me? Well, that meant, starting to do some exercise. As I said just a little bit ago, I wasn't very healthy at that point, so I could not do very much. But, you know, I went to the doctor. I got a physical like a couple months right after I got sober, so I had this baseline. I talked to him. I was open. He told me, okay, you can go on some walks. And don't push it, though, because, you know, you're still on this med to manage this and, you know, things like that. And then I started to work, so I worked on the exercise. I started to work on developing relationships with people. And for me, it was mostly in rooms, in AA rooms, things like that, because I didn't know where else to go, because all of my other friends were drinkers. And I couldn't go hang out with them at the bar.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then so is relationships. Then finances. I destroyed a bunch of my finances. Started to work on that. None of this stuff I did quickly. I didn't just go all into this stuff. Just slowly work into it. So I started to develop this life, and that's what I continued to do, and that's what I continue to do today. Is just try to live this life that I don't have to run from. I don't have to go back to the bottle for, and that's what I do. That's what a lot of our program talks about is developing this mindset, this sober mindset, where alcohol is just off the table, and that's what I had to do.
Absolutely. And I think those are the keys to look at, because a lot of times what we think we want versus what actually works just as good are two different things. And I remember when I first got sober, I was a candy junkie. I would eat sour Skittles like they were going out of style. I mean, that's what I did. And later on, I started replacing that with healthy fruit and berries and stuff like that. Now, the downside is unfortunately in America, it's cheap to eat garbage, and it's expensive to have stuff that grows on trees for free anyway. But, it is worth it in the long run, because I'm the kind of person who will complain about a $3 pack of berries, but, nothing about a $12 beer. I mean, come on, that's a beer. But, we have to look at that and understand, hey, the money I'm saving on alcohol, now I can live and eat healthy. Like now, for the last year or so, every day I have a smoothie with fruit and collard greens or spinach or something, and I feel better. Like, I don't need as much coffee because I'm having the energy from that. I feel better every day. And that's one of the things, is we have to understand that we're chemical beings. That's what makes us work. Like, we're electrochemical beings, and that's what we do. We walk around and chemicals direct how we are. You say falling in love, right? This is something I debate with on lots of people. And my feeling and thought is any two people can fall in love under the right circumstances. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what you want. Under the right circumstances, chemicals will fire. You're going to fall in love like a moth to a flame. Just the way it works. Same thing with someone who likes you or you get approval. Like, Terry thinks I'm a good guy. That makes me feel a certain way, and I crave that, and I want that. These people don't like me. I don't like that. I want to run from that. And what we realize is that all day, every day, we're like a freaking pinball machine of chemical reactions and emotions and things like that. And what we learn in sobriety and what we teach in Talk Sober is that you don't have to be the ball flipping around. You could be the one clicking the little things, making the ball go around. Right? I used to live life like the ball, and oh shit, I ran into this and it lit up, and now I feel good. I ran into this and now I lost and I feel bad. And I'm bing, bing, bing all over the place, rather than looking at life and saying, hey, this is how it works. It went over there and lit up because I drank. It's over here and it's got anxiety because I had a pot of coffee. And I mean, not just any coffee, but you go to the coffee places, you drive through and get a coffee, and it's like that much water and that much coffee grounds. And I wonder why I'm anxious. And I think a lot of these things in our society we don't talk about because whatever reason, they're just socially acceptable. And I think, the coffee companies probably have something to do with it, just like the alcohol companies probably have something to do with the suppression of alcohol knowledge. And we have to understand that this is how life works. And we have to understand that sometimes we do succumb to chemical needs. That's okay. But am I going to introduce new chemicals through alcohol? No. Sometimes do I need water? Sometimes do I need exercise? Sometimes do you need sexual outlet? All these things are part of life. It's chemical. But when you start introducing and becoming chemically dependent on a foreign chemical, then everything changes. That's when we start to get manipulated, and that's why drinking has to be off the table.
Yeah. Neil had mentioned sugar, candy, is just as unhealthy as alcohol and addictive. I don't know. Maybe it is as addictive as alcohol. I'm not sure. But what I do know here, let me use an example. The other day we had, it's actually the largest run race in America, and it was last Sunday. And my wife and I decided to ride our bikes down to it and watch it. And because I actually ran it about, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, something like that. But anyways, we decided to go down there and check it out because it's a big event. It might even be the biggest event around here of the year. I don't know. But whatever. We rode our bikes down there. And when we were going on our way to the starting line, we passed by this one place, and I'm like, I smell donuts. Oh man, that smells so good. Well, we kept going, and we went down to where the finish line was and checked it out for a while. And I was like, honey, it's really packed down here. Let's go to that place where they had donuts. And I saw the sign. It's get a latte and some donuts. Yeah. So I went back there and had nice coffee. They make the donuts nice and fresh, all these specialty flavors. It was awesome. That was sugar. And that sugar, yes, it was addictive. After we had it and I was riding home, I was like, oh, I got that, post sugar feeling, but it was so good. But the one thing is I didn't go home and have to get more donuts, more sugar. I was not craving it. I wasn't going to drop everything in my life to go get more sugar. If that had been a bar and I had drinks, yeah, that might be what I'd be doing. I'd be like completely compulsive about trying to, where am I going to get my next drink? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do it without anybody knowing? Because they think I'm sober. That wasn't going to happen with the sugar and the donuts. So I don't know. The sugar, when I first got sober, I did eat a lot of sugar, but I was able to slowly get rid of it. When there's arguments, and I can definitely see the other side of it. But for me, the alcohol is a lot worse because it's going to change my entire life, my entire way of thinking. And the sugar aspect, or even other little chemicals like that, I don't know that they're going to change me that much to where I'm sacrificing everything in my life for it, because that's what I did with alcohol.
Yeah, it's interesting, and we have to look at that and understand, okay, what am I going to do with the alcohol? How am I going to get this off the table and change my life in a real way? And that's what we talk about over at Talksober.com, which you can go and get that course. Just click the yellow button there, get signed up, all kinds of PDFs and reports and everything like that. You just fill out the little form here. It'll help you get started. And then you can check out the other resources we have for you at Talksober.com as well. But I think this is a good conversation, and I think it's something that we need to understand, that trying to replace drinking and alcohol with something else isn't exactly going to work, because even if we try to replace it with sugar, you're not getting that same chemical reaction. You're not getting that same chemical dependency, which is why the only thing I have found to replace alcohol with is no alcohol. I'm going to replace this and change my life. And I think that is the most important part. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this talk. If you guys have topics for us that you want us to cover, let us know as the comments below. Check out Talksober.com. And I think that's about it for today, unless you have any last minute words there, Terry.
No, you said it right there. Replace alcohol with no alcohol. Absolutely.
All right. Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for being here. Check out Talksober.com if you want to talk to us after. You could do a private sobriety call with me and Terry, or you could join the class by clicking the yellow button. If you want something free, go to our Facebook group. We got a bunch of people that are going through our stuff, trying to get sober in there as well. And we're trying to support each other with the education of how alcohol affects our life. So that's over at Talksober.com. Thanks for being here, guys, and we'll see you next week. All right.